the Elves Orome handlebars. How good are they? Now, this video actually starts with a little story about a previous pair of handlebars I had on this bike. And I bought a pair of fake Roval handlebars. Not the best thing to do really, but the actual handlebars themselves seemed to be fairly good. They felt stiff, they looked very similar to the original ones, but essentially the issue that they had was the front mount separated from the handlebars themselves. I tried many solutions. I tried epoxy putty to get it back on, and then I actually carbon fibered the mount back on, which snapped off, essentially leaving me with the handlebars that I couldn't have a Garmin mount for. Many of you suggested to me, why don't you actually try one of the branded versions of the one-piece handlebar and stem? And that's how I got to this one, the Elves Orome handlebar. There are many reasons why I chose this one. First of all, it had the right dimensions and fit for me. Secondly, it looked pretty sleek. It wasn't too shouty and in your face with their branding. And thirdly, it just has a very simple overall design for it that looked like it would work with this bike. Oh, and of course, I want a front mount that actually works and is stable. This one is good. So does it do those things? Let's find out. I think first of all, we've got to talk about how easy these handlebars are to set up on the bike. And thankfully, 95% of it, so easy. The reason it was made so easy is because they come with these orange cables, which I'm overlaying on the B-roll now, that are already fed through the handlebar for you, meaning you've already got something to use to pull the cables through the handlebars, which just made setting this thing up a breeze. Now you can see here, I've only needed to use the front two as this is a wireless group set from the shifter. But of course, if you have a fully integrated setup, then you have another hole on the back end here where you can get the cables through and into there. But you don't just need to use the hole. These cables can of course funnel through underneath the bar and stem and down into the front as well, so it's all beautifully integrated. I would say probably the hardest part about getting these bars on, to be honest, was that it was actually quite stiff getting it onto the stem here. Nothing crazy, but just took a bit more hits than it normally does to get it fully down and seated. Another thing that was super annoying was this front mount here. Now, once it's on, it's solid and it's beautiful. I'm going to get into that later, but you may be able to see here, I've had to use different level shims. I've got 2 in the front there, 0 in the back in terms of the washers, just to try and get this mostly level. Now, of course, these handlebars aren't actually designed for this bike. They've got a 10-degree drop, so I guess on the original bike, if you used one washer in each, it would be much more level to the ground, but they seem more than level enough to me on this bike. They're obviously designed for the Elves bikes. But not only that, there's quite a few parts in there, so you see the gold bits sitting in there, there's another washer on top of them, and honestly, trying to get all of these washers in, I had to turn the bike upside down just to try and do all of this, but these are all separate parts and it's very fiddly and it takes a little while. So maybe in the future they could maybe make these bolts a little bit easier to work with. But apart from that, it's pretty standard handlebar setup. Where the shifters grip onto the handlebar, they do have an extra bit of grip and like a rough texture to it, so they should grip on a bit better, and it feels like they're absolutely solid on there with just 6 Newton meters. The actual physical weight of these handlebars, these ones I've got here are a 120 stem with a 400mm width, which is perfect for me. These bars here come in at 400 grams. Now, it's not bad, it's not amazing either. Like a top end of the line Roval handlebar for the same width for me comes in at 300 grams. On my Tarmac SL7. But the positive is that these are roughly comparable to a really good or quite a high quality bar and stem combination together that are an aerodynamic shape. But obviously it looks a lot better because it's a one-piece bar and stem setup. So yeah, not super light, but I think good enough, especially for the price. Are the bars stiff enough or are they flexy? And well, they're excellent. They are stiff enough for my riding. I can't feel any flex in these bars up until about 1300 watts when I'm pushing in the pedal. Then it starts to get a little bit flexier. I tend to top out on most rides at about 1550 watts, and then you can start to feel the flex a little bit more, but it's not much. It's really, really small actually. So in terms of handlebar stiffness, I think these are more than sufficient for most people. I would say for me, usually the best on the market get to about that 1500 watt mark before they start to feel a little bit of flex in them. But to get this close is pretty impressive. What about the ergonomics and the usage of these handlebars? And I really love them. The holder on the top feels really nice. It's almost perfect for my hands, just the way I like to hold it. It feels like I've got maximum grip. It's the way that they're shaped just fits the hands beautifully when you're climbing those long climbs. Everywhere else kind of feels like a normal handlebar, which is great. You don't want it to be any weird or different. Flare, these bars do have a little bit of flare. Now in the past, I've never cared about having a little bit of flare on my handlebars. But after using these ones, I like the flare now on a handlebar. Just means when you're down here in the drops, it just means that your forearm doesn't touch the bars at all, the upper bars, and when you're sprinting in them, these parts just stay out of the way. So these bars have made me a fan of the flare. I just want to show you a little bit more of the shape. It's a very simple shape. It's almost just like a flattened circle, well, an oval essentially, but it's perfect for what they're trying to achieve. They're slim, they're aerodynamic, and I think they work nicely. Do I think that these handlebars look good? Yes. Yes, I do. On the website, I thought that Orome here and the split between the matte and the gloss was going to be more obvious. They made it look a bit more garish on the website, so I was a little bit worried about that. But no, in person it looks sleek, it looks understated, it just looks very nice. And well, it looks very smart and well put together as well. In terms of the actual stem as well, a lot of stems can get really chunky in one-piece handlebars and stems, but this one is a little bit thick towards the back. But as a whole, it's a very nice shape for the bike. Even for this bike with a couple of spaces underneath there, it is my winter bike. I'm going to keep the spaces on there. I don't need to be slammed for winter. It still looks just fine to me. Other handlebars look really weird around this section when they're one piece on a round tube and stem like this one. What about the mount? I kind of said the main reason why I bought these is because of this mount, and well, it's this nice solid aluminium mount here. You can see that it's thick, that thing's not going anywhere, it's not moving, it's absolutely stable, and it comfortably runs my front light here. One thing I do like about this one is that it comes stocked with this universal kind of GoPro mount there. You don't have to use it, you can take it off if you want to, but of course for winter I want to run this big bulky front light here, and as I take it off, it's pretty sleek without the light anyway, but it just means I have the option to run it if I want to. This is what the Garmin 1030 looks like on there, so you can see there's a bit of space back there, and it sits nice and level with the bar. I do think I could probably get one more washer in the front section there just to level it off a little bit more, make it look a little bit better. But of course, no matter which size that you have, you can see that it slides back and forth on the rails there, so you can just slide it backwards so your Garmin isn't poking out, or your Wahoo isn't poking out too far. You can get it the perfect length no matter which head unit that you are using. And it of course does come stocked with many different head unit mounts. There are some things that I would really like to see in the future from this handlebar, and they're just minor things that I think that they could do. The first one is the top cap here. So this handlebar doesn't come with a top cap. It stocks a normal round top cap, which you should be able to see on either side of this here. This top cap actually comes from the faux Rovals that I use, and well, it actually fits with them fairly sleekly, which I guess I'm kind of lucky with. But you can just buy a regular normal circular top cap for this, and it will probably be even a little bit smoother. But I feel like for a handlebar, it should come with one that it's supposed to be fitted with. The second thing I'd really like to see, I think in the future they could probably shave a little bit of weight off these handlebars. Now I know they've probably added a bit of weight on to make the internal routing smooth and easy to use, and they are more than stiff enough and very functional. But 400 grams, I reckon they could probably knock that down to 350 in the future. Although that might add a little bit of price on. I did have a few issues with shipping when these came, so when I ordered them after about 3 weeks, well, they weren't here, so I emailed the company, and essentially the handlebars got stuck with the courier company here in the UK. So it wasn't their fault that these handlebars didn't arrive in time. They're usually meant to come within 2 weeks. And to be fair to Elves, every email exchange I had with them, they replied really fast, they were on it, they helped me out. So customer service for these guys are really good. So I think if you have any problems with these handlebars, I'm confident that you'll be able to get your problem resolved with them. So conclusions, these handlebars are currently coming in at £173 for a one-piece bar and stem. I think excellent. I've really loved using them. I think they look fantastic. They're functional, they're solid, they're stable, easy to set up. For the price, they are light enough, although I think if they wanted to make it an unbelievable handlebar, they could probably bring the weight down a little bit and maybe make that front mount area a little bit less fiddly in the future. But personally, so happy I've went for them, and I now agree, if you're buying a one-piece handlebar and stem, go with a branded one. They look after you if you need them. They've got their name behind it, so they kind of have to make them all good and perfect and pass quality control for safety reasons. And Elves, I think you've done an excellent job here on this one. Guys, if you have any specific questions that you don't think that I've answered, feel free to put them in the comments below. I do answer most things. Or you can find me over here on Instagram if you would like to message me privately instead. But other than that, I've been Jason. This has been Cycling Unboxed. I'll see you in another video.